Howdy. It's ACC Baseball Etc. presented by our friends at Pitch Logic, the system used by players, coaches, scouts, and instructors at all levels of play, from youth leagues to the big leagues. The easy-to-use and affordable technology makes the platform accessible to every player at every level. All the metrics and features used at the highest level. See pitchlogic.com for more information. With Danny Graves, Daron Vaught here. Back at it on a Monday to recap the weekend. Gravy, how was your weekend?
Well, it was going pretty well until yesterday, Daron. My son got cheap shotted at his hockey game, got slashed and cross-checked, and he ended up fracturing his thumb. So now he's out 2 to 3 weeks. Yeah.
Bummer. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So disappointing, man. So that's what we – yeah, it's awful. Like, I was pretty hot about it yesterday, but I've kind of calmed down a little bit. Just the dirty hits, they got to go. I understand people get hurt in hockey, but the puck wasn't even around him, and the kid slashed him, and I got it on video because there's a live barn where it just records everything.
Yeah.
We could have a whole show about that. I'll leave it at that. So he's more bummed because he can't play for a while.
That's what comes with being a great player and an agitator the way that he is. You just got a target on your back, I guess. That's part of it.
We've told him he's got to be ready for that. He needs to learn how to get out of the way. But this was kind of one of those things he couldn't. There's nothing he can do about it.
Yeah.
So
yeah. All right. Well, best to Peter and a speedy recovery so you can get back out on the ice. Man, what a crazy weekend in college baseball, right?
Yeah, I want to hear about your call. What day was that? The record breaking? Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So I had play-by-play for games 1 and 2 of Louisville at North Carolina. Mm-hmm. And then I didn't have that game on Sunday. So I was at High Point and had Winthrop High Point. So I had 3 days of games. It was awesome.
Nice.
So entering, we've talked about this. I think listeners know. We've talked about this. Vance Honeycutt was approaching the career home run record for North Carolina, and it became clearer and clearer that I would have some games of theirs, and I might have a chance to call the record-breaking home run. So entering Friday, he was 1 away from tying and 2 from breaking it. And I got to give you credit. Anytime we talked about it via text or on here in a more public capacity, you the whole time have been like, no, you're going to get it. You're going to get it. It's going to be yours. And even he's 2 away from breaking it. I have their next 2 games. Even then, it can be like, okay, Vance is prone to here and there, at least at like an 0 for 4 game. It doesn't happen often. So if
a blowout and Forbes takes him out.
For sure, because we're getting to that point in the year where maybe that's a concern. You don't want him to get injured. I don't think that would have happened because Forbes is very aware of the history that Vance is trying to make. And I don't know that Vance would want to sort of take his foot off the gas. That's not really the type of player he is. Right. So we get to the bottom of the first on Friday. We've talked about it, right? He was part of the Open. We say he's 1 away from tying Debbie Bell's all-time record, 2, and he would become the new home run king. I mean, bottom of the first, he's hitting leadoff, and he just hits a leadoff opposite field blast. Just casually, he just kind of shoots it up into the air. It's got enough carry on it. He's gotten really good at that, by the way, not overdoing it when he goes backside. Yeah. It's part of what his growth has been this year as a hitter. All right, cool. So we're tied at 57 career home runs ever, right? He comes up very next time he's up. First pitch, pulls it 115 miles per hour off the bat. And like
10 feet above the ground, right?
Yeah. Oh, it was, it barely, I barely could process what was going on. It happened so quickly.
Yeah.
So we got it in the minimum, as they say, and got it out of the way. And no, I thought we did well with it as a show collectively. Like we established that as a talking point, a storyline going into the show. After he hit the first one, it was like, okay, well, he's got all day. that, you know, he's going to have 3 more plate appearances minimum probably to do it. And he didn't really give me time to set it up the second time around because he just was swinging away.
Yeah.
He ambushed it, which was kind of perfect because it got out and
it just happened.
And it just happened. And like North Carolina as a team hit 3 more home runs that frame. So it's like, okay, this whole thing, we were trying to give it the attention, right? And we did for a batter or 2 afterward.
Yeah.
But I mean, it happened almost as if Vance Honeycutt wrote it that way. He like the attention quickly got recentered from him to the others, and just like this awesome inning that the team was having.
Right.
But it was cool. It was, and your former teammate Paul Shuey was in the booth with me. Paul and I were there when Vance hit his first home run at Boshemer Stadium as a freshman. And we
called that one. Wow.
So, and then it's kind of like this cool full circle thing. And for Paul, I love it because like that's his program. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In a way, it's far closer to being his record than it is mine. Right. So I just wanted to do right by, and there was genuine excitement. He was so proud. As an alum of North Carolina baseball, it was cool. It was cool to be there for it.
Yeah, I think if anybody else was calling that game with you, I would have been very upset that they didn't give you the floor a little bit longer. But since it was Shu,
he kind of jumped in.
Since it was Shu, like he totally he totally jumped in. He's like, okay, you said your little piece right there. Now it's my turn, and there's the record-breaking home. So he totally just like jumped in, and he wasn't letting you back in.
I explained it this way to the crew the next day because Paul did not do the Saturday game. Mm-hmm. And, you know, we get there a couple hours early. I'm just talking to like the stage manager and / engineer. He's kind of everything. And they were laughing about it because I gave my call and, you know, and it's history. Instead of saying it's gone, I said it's history. Right. And Paul immediately, there's your home run king for North Carolina right there. Yeah. So, but like a couple of things, I'm thankful he didn't talk over me or didn't just like yell over me because he's at least that experienced. But the other thing was like, I told them, there are way fewer hard and fast rules to this stuff than people like to think. You know what I mean? I get that. I'm a huge proponent of the let it breathe concept.
Breathe. Yeah. Yep.
But it happened so quickly because he just jumped on the pitch. And as he swung, my second analyst, Wayne, was finishing up a thought.
Right. I heard
so
Wayne.
It was 3 voices on there. Yeah. But you know me in the way that I think about this stuff sort of artistically, like it's half the job is transferring the energy of the moment. Mm-hmm. And it happened so quickly. I think it fit that he so quickly kind of jumped in with the genuine excitement that he had, right? And for my sake, like I don't care. I don't mind sharing that with somebody. I'm not a me monster enough to be like, no, that was my call or whatever. Like I thought it turned out perfect. Maybe not perfect. I don't know that there's such a thing as a perfect call, but like it turned out well. And I thought it really matched the moment. And again, I love that Paul and I shared that because because he played there and it's his program. And like, he knows Vance's parents from his time at UNC. Like it meant something to him. It could not possibly mean to me. And I think that added to it.
Yeah. I mean, when you mentioned that again, I remember hearing Wayne finishing a comment. So it wasn't like you had this big thing going, story going, and then you called it, and then Shu just jumped in. Like,
no,
I mean, I was teasing you about it. I know through messages, but Shuey, I think we both loved this dude so much. I think it was perfect that he got to be there with you to do it, because it's a moment that if he's not there, it's like, oh man, you know, the rest of his life he's going to be like, I wasn't there for it. I was there for his first, and this is a record breaker. So, and
like, admittedly, my call would have been okay either way. Mm-hmm. But it might have been just kind of like, man, without him. Like you know what I mean? He brought you could tell he was really excited to see that if it was going to happen. So anyways, I thought we did a really good job with it. It was a fun couple of days. I'm even aside from that moment, we had some really good shows and it was a blast. And Shuey typically was like, he would like groan aloud about the strike zone at times. And so we get to a point later in the game where he's just like, oh, and I have to address that. Because people are hearing it and he's doing it. And I love it because Shuey's just being Shuey and that's what he's there for.
Right.
So at some point I'm like, we know what's up. And I'm just kind of like, what, Paul? And he goes, that's a strike. That's a strike. I don't know why he's not calling it a strike.
Well, there's a little gas going on here, a little indigestion. So that's all the moaning and groaning you're hearing right now.
Paul ate a bad taco.
Yeah. I mean, Shu can get away with that. It's okay. But it's nice that it happened because that was the last home series for North Carolina, right?
Correct.
I mean, like legit at the Bosch.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So that's the other element too, right? Whenever somebody breaks a record like that, you would prefer for their sake for it to be at home.
Yeah.
So it was on, it's not his senior weekend, but let's be real. He's not coming back. Yeah. So
that's his last regular season home game at the Bosch ever.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, it was cool. Really, really cool moment. Debbie Bell was there.
Nice.
North Carolina posted some comments from him on social media, and he was, obviously gracious and awesome about it. So, really cool accomplishment. Really cool for that to be sort of part of my season baseball. I've had a lot of cool stuff, man. It's been a wild year, but
that's so awesome. So awesome.
So 5 of the top 10 teams who were 5 of the teams who were in the D1 baseball top 10 in the rankings entering the weekend lost their series. This included some ACC teams. The ACC had a couple of ranked matchups.
Yeah.
In which both underdogs, using my air quotes, pulled off the upsets.
Yeah.
I think there's no question the biggest performance of the weekend was Wake Forest sweeping Clemson. I mean, that's a loud performance, and they're back up into the top 10. They're now number 8 in the new rankings dropped this morning. I mean, Jack Winay hit a home run in each one of those games. He got my vote for player of the week, by the way, in a stacked week. This was the toughest player of the week vote yet.
You picked any of those players and it would have been okay.
Yeah. No, I mean, it was incredible. Funk at Pittsburgh had a wild week, and they beat Florida State in their series. Garrett Pennington for NC State.
That's who I chose, Pennington.
Yeah. He was awesome. Daniel Cuvée was awesome again for Miami. They won their series. I'm telling you, they're going to sneak into the ACC tournament. And I think
winning 2 out of 3 at Virginia Tech definitely helps.
And they finished with Pitt. So at home.
But Pitt won their series.
But Pitt just beat FSU. Yeah. Dude, Charlotte is going to be bananas.
Rocking.
I think something I'm not going to say it definitively like that. I don't necessarily think something crazy is going to happen. A lot of crazy things are going to happen. I think it's possible that something totally absurd happens. Like, I've made the joke a couple of times yesterday and this morning that I was like, watch Miami get in and like win the tournament. You know, like it's going to be that kind of a week.
Because I know we've mentioned this before. Like sometimes the teams that you think are going to win aren't really like necessarily, my air quotes, trying to win.
Yeah.
Because tournaments the regionals are coming up shortly after.
Now, if you're Wake
sometimes
Forest,
leaves it open.
Yeah. Now, if you're a Wake Forest, you would like to continue to ride this momentum as you've surged back into the top 8 of the rankings. And who knows, maybe you can get yourself with some wins in Charlotte into a position where you're back to a national top 8 seed. Especially with all the teams toward the top losing this past weekend, like your chances become increased at that. If you're a Georgia Tech, you're trying to ride out some momentum and make a big run. If Georgia Tech was to play in the championship game on Sunday, that certainly would boost their profile going into the tournament selection. If you're a Louisville, Louisville came into the weekend against North Carolina really, really needing wins. So it's not great for them that they got swept. But in the projections, I mean, they were just on the outside looking in coming into the weekend. Louisville is a team that has talent. They could go in and win the tournament and leave no doubt that they're going to be in the field. I just think that there are so many awesome possibilities to this ACC Baseball Championship. It's going to be so much fun.
It's going to be insane. There's probably going to be a winner that nobody expects. But, this whole conference, I don't know how many times we've said it, it's so stacked that any of these teams could get hot at the right moment, which a lot of them need to get hot during this tournament to give themselves a chance to get into the regionals. And it could be Miami, it could be Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech's scary. They really scare me because they can hit. If they get any kind of pitching throughout a game, they are dangerous. Yeah.
No, they're John Giesler also on the Player of the Week ballot. He had a great week. You could not have gone wrong with a Player of the Week vote. It's
no, you really couldn't.
It was crazy, and all the teams that needed to win to give themselves chances in whatever capacity that is, those teams won over the weekend. Yeah. So there, by the numbers, there were a lot of upsets in the ACC this week. It was fun. Yeah. I will say this about being at North Carolina for 2 of 3 days. It feels like every time I do one of their series this year, I go into it thinking, man, this is going to be really competitive. This should be a pretty good series. And they just drub whoever it is. It's unbelievable. They hit 7 home runs on Friday that tied a season high.
Jeez.
It was a closer game Saturday, but then they rout Louisville again on Sunday in the finale. I mean, just like a clean sweep of a team that's hungry and talented and trying to get themselves in a position to make a regional. And I said the same thing when it was Virginia Tech, and Virginia Tech had not fallen off quite the way that they have now. So they were coming off of, just a couple of weeks ago, they were ranked. Yeah. They need a boost. And North Carolina just blitzed them in that series too. So if the Heels can keep a top 8 national seed, they've lost 2 games at Boshemer all season long. They just played different there. It's a good team no matter where you're playing them. It is a totally different animal.
Yeah. There. They see the ball differently at their home park with that backdrop, whatever it may be, because you're just comfortable and you see the ball coming out of the pitcher's hands a lot easier because they are so aggressive offensively, swinging at first pitches, being patient if they need to, but they're going to score runs. Imagine being a pitcher on that staff. I know my team is going to score a ton of runs. Just let me minimize the damage a little bit.
That was that was the thing about Friday is Jason DeCaro, their freshman Friday guy, got out of a bases loaded jam in the top of the first inning, but overall was maybe the worst he had looked all year. It just, you had those days, I'm sure. It just wasn't there, right? So he was just kind of he was reaching. He was trying to scrounge for whatever he had in him. And he ended up going 5 innings and giving up 3. But he got this big boost after that. I think it was the 4th inning when Vance hit the first home run, and it was his record-breaking homer. Yeah. And then there were 3 more in the inning. And Carolina scored 5 or 6 runs. Yeah. And then, DeCaro goes back out and you feel a lot better about not having your best stuff. Yeah. when that's the case and you've got some cushion. So that's what they're capable of. That I get the concern is with the pitching, but you
don't have to be great.
Yeah. You can solve a lot of that if the offense plays the way that it plays there.
Yeah. So good pitchers find ways to win without their good stuff. And he obviously did it that day. And, I'm sure he wanted to go more than 5, but when you score a ton of runs, 5 and dive is okay. It's okay to do that because this is the time of year that you need to save some bullets. But that staff, people can say what they want. When I did the game against Charlotte and Padgett started, and he'd had the worst, like this whole season has been like uncommon for Padgett. He hasn't pitched that poorly all year. Well, that game, he absolutely dominated for, I think it was 6+ innings, and they scored 8 runs in the first inning. Carolina did. So now it's like, I can go out and pitch and feel comfortable. So, when you got an offense like that, man, your pitching doesn't have to be great. Just get outs.
Yeah.
You don't have to be nasty.
It's the opposite of what Jamie Arnold was dealing with Florida State this weekend. I mean, God, what an outing for him for them to lose 1-0 at Pitt like that.
And
that got the series started for Pitt. Obviously, it's a huge boost when you can get Arnold and win that Friday game, because that's not a common occurrence in the ACC this year.
Right. Well, I mean, it's hard to keep Cam Smith and James Tibbs down, offensively. And, this Pitt staff just out of nowhere throws up a 0 against Florida State. You give up a 1 home run, and he had like 17 strikeouts, right? Jamie Arnold?
17.
Yeah. And gives up 1 run. It's a solo homer. Solo homers aren't supposed to beat you, but when your offense doesn't work that day, it's tough. It's tough.
So I'm trying to think of other things that caught my eye. Georgia Tech, by the way, won the series against Duke, and as of yesterday, anyways, dropped in the RPI. So that situation continues to befuddle me. But kudos to them, man. Like, they're making it work. If you would have asked me a month ago what the outlook was for their season, it's nowhere near what it's been right now. And I think that was Danny Hall's 1200th win.
It was
at some point over the weekend. I think 1200's the number.
Okay.
I actually don't want to say that incorrectly, so let me pull it up real quick just so I can confirm. And it's 1200th at Georgia Tech, maybe. I mean, the guy's just already a Hall of Famer, a legend.
Yeah. I mean, his first year at Georgia Tech was my last year at Miami. That's how long he's been there.
All right, I got to scroll through the updates. Yeah, his 1200th win at Georgia Tech was over the weekend, in their one of their wins against Duke. So just banana stuff. Yeah. Anything else catch your eye? I mean, Chase Burns was awesome again.
Chase Burns was Chase Burns again.
Yeah, it's had FSU won Jamie Arnold's start, it would have been a much more difficult pitcher of the week vote.
Yeah.
But Burns, what was it, 16 strikeouts on the number 2 team in the country? Like, that'll do it every time.
Yeah, every time. 16 of the 26 batters he faced, he struck out.
Yeah.
The number 2 team in the country. Yeah. So, he was my pick too. But it would have made a tougher decision if Jamie Arnold would have got a win.
Which it stinks, right? Because it's out of his control. But
it is. But it's also like, you look at it, it's no disrespect, but it's Pittsburgh, not Clemson.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's where we would have landed.
Yeah.
If Florida State would have won that game 1, it would have been like, okay, everything else is basically even.
Yeah.
But Burns did it against Clemson.
Right.
It's a higher quality win.
Yeah.
In that
definitely.
case. So, but just a wild stuff. So I had a couple of interesting home runs I saw.
And this is we need to maybe create some sound or whatever for the segment where I just I get nerdy, because if you'll indulge me, I'm going to do some numbers stuff because it's interesting to me.
Okay.
Like I tweeted out, for instance, I just had some leftover stuff that I didn't get to use over the weekend. So I found it interesting that Louisville's freshman designated hitter, Zion Rose, who's, one of the best freshman hitters in the country, especially the ACC. He was hitting, I think, 386 going into the weekend, which was the highest mark for a freshman in the ACC.
Yeah.
You think with a guy with that many hits, I think 59 hits now after the weekend, he's kind of done it in all situations. Weirdly, Zion Rose doesn't have a hit on a 2-1 count all season, which is a really common count.
Yeah.
Like, it's one thing not to have a hit on a 3-0 because you're not swinging 3-0. He doesn't have.
Has he taken a lot of 2-1 pitches? Have you dug that deep?
I guess so. I guess that's what happens. Or, it's. I didn't dig that deep, but I did see the batting averages with the specific counts, and it just struck me as weird that one of the better batting average guys in the ACC has such a common count that he's not gotten a hit on. So, that's the sort of stuff that and everybody I think knows interests me. So get this.
Yeah.
There are sort of two directions I can go with this, and I'll pivot after I explain the first bit. Okay. Alberto Osuna for North Carolina on Friday had 2 home runs. His first was 47 degrees off of the bat. Okay, you can sort of envision the launch angle.
Yeah,
right. That's high.
That's high. Yeah.
So for
that's like softball swing.
Yes, for reference,
slow pitch softball, not like fast pitch. Slow pitch.
For reference, and I tweeted this out this morning too. The NCAA Division I average launch angle for every home run this season is 28.7 degrees.
Oh my gosh.
28.7, right? And they say, 20 to 30 is kind of the sweet spot. That has changed a little bit, but the launch angles have crept up in recent years because you're swinging for that now, and in most cases. So 28.7 is the average. Osuna hit his at 47. It barely eked out, 331 feet, just over the left field wall. His second home run, maybe even the next plate appearance, I can't remember, 22 degrees off the bat, just a missile. So I got to thinking, and there's no way to possibly find this. But that's got to be the biggest disparity between launch angles of consecutive home runs in college baseball history. 25-degree difference. Come on.
Yeah. Well, there's a way to find it. You just have to dig, I'm sure.
That's a lot of legwork. I don't know that I'm up for that.
Yeah.
But I'll give the second payoff here. Not only did I see that 47-degree launch angle home run, at High Point, I saw, and there's an ACC connection here, former UNC catcher, now with the High Point Panthers, Eric Grintz, hit the second 47-degree home run of my weekend. Basically the same swing, same result, just barely got over 330 feet. So I was curious, and as we wrap things up here, I'll just give these numbers. 28.7 degrees for context is the average. It was almost 20 degrees higher. Of the 15,498 home runs hit at the Division I level this season, over 15,000.
Wow.
Only 62 of them, including the 2 that I'm talking about, have been 47 degrees or more in their launch angle.
60 out of 15,000 plus?
15,498. The percentage. So of all home runs hit at the D1 level this year, less than 0.5 of a percentage point.
Oh my gosh.
And I got 2 of them in the same weekend. Bananas. It was fun.
Bananas is right. Bananas is right.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's insane. That's why you're a professor, dude, because all the numbers and
but I can't, crazy. There are appropriate avenues for that. Like if I try to get into all of that on a game call, we get away from the action and that sort of thing. So, this is the area where I just get to spill all my leftover stuff from the week.
No, I love it because it gets me my education lesson for the week. Because I have to really think when you say all these numbers. So, how about these numbers?
Some people do Sudoku every morning. Danny just listens to me.
Yep. You're the professor. I have to. So numbers. I got to throw these numbers out real quick before we take off. We both have failed to give credit to Ben Miller at Duke. Week after week, we look at it and we just continue just to not say how great he is. Well, he had 3 more hits this past weekend at Georgia Tech. So now he's got 75 hits on the year in 45 games. 41 of those games he's gotten a hit in. Only 4 games all year that he hasn't gotten a hit in. This is a graduate that hit just over 300 in the Ivy League last year, right at Penn. Now he's hitting over 400 in the ACC. Well, not just the ACC, 400 overall for this season. Remarkable.
Yeah, it's remarkable. I do love Ben Miller as a player. I've joked all year about having like an all Daron team. I know that's Aaron Fitt, a guy of D1's territory. He's got the all fit team. There's a way for me to come up with it, I guess. But like,
all
Miller's
professor team.
Ooh, the all ACC's already got an all academic team, so we can't say it that way.
You leave it at professor because it could be academic and it could be athletic, right?
We could. There's something there. It's not. You're not. The nail's not on the head yet, but
something to think about.
We'll workshop it. But anyways, Miller's there, and this came up because we were talking about Player of the Year last week, and our buddy Mike Farron inserted Ben Miller into the conversation, and we both agreed it was a huge oversight on our part. Like I don't know that he'll win it, but he deserves to be talked about when it comes to that. Just such a fun player. And I've even told other people who have asked, they've got Duke games coming up and they're like, hey, what stands out? And I'm just like, you're going to love Ben Miller. So like off air, I've been talking about him a lot. So it was weird that he didn't come to mind when we were talking about Player of the Year. So that's correcting a huge oversight by the two of us last week.
So forgive us.
Forgive us. Any closing thoughts before we move on from the week and head into the final weekend of ACC play?
Excited about this last weekend. This is make or break for some guys, for some teams.
In my neck of the woods, we've got NC State, Wake in Raleigh. We've got North Carolina, Duke in Durham. So some in-state rivalries. That's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Georgia Tech, Florida State will be good. Yeah. Good hitting against good pitching. Yeah.
Agreed. And then, Miami Pitt becomes way more interesting now.
Very interesting. I might watch all 3 games. Well, it depends on how the first game goes and then how the second game goes.
Nice. All right. We're going to save Hall of Name for next time because we're short on time. Gravy and I both are squeezing this in. So I will say Wake Forest's Seaver King is going to be our guest later this week. So 2 episodes this week, 1 after this one, of course. So this one's included. Seaver King of Wake Forest hops on ACC Baseball Etc. Can't wait for that. Can't wait for you guys to tune in to that. Thanks so much for listening, watching, however you do it. ACC BSB ETC on socials. Like, share, rate, review, all those words, all that stuff. Do that, and we'll talk to you with Seaver King joining us later this week.
That's right.